Welcome, IT changemakers, to the DEX Show with Tim Flower and Tom McGraw. Let's get into it.
Hi, changemakers. I'll tell you something about podcasting, right? Sometimes you have a guest you really like, and you make a couple of shows with them, and then part of you think, okay, we done a few this year, we done a few this quarter, this half of the year. We'll just we'll come back to them soon, and then you forget that you have that relationship. You forget what a good guest they were, and it takes something to remind you. And listen, it's with great pleasure that we welcome back to the show for the first time since the DEX Show's first year as a podcast, Alan Nance. How you doing, Alan? Good to see you back, mate.
He's back. Yeah, no, that's great. No, it's great to see that you guys are still alive and kicking. And I don't know how many episodes you guys have had now.
We're in our fifth year. I don't know how. What are we at 200 yet, Tom? Definitely in our fifth year.
Yeah, no, I don't know. We've been going forever though.
We'll go count.
I cannot believe you were like a regular on our first year.
And then you didn't need me anymore. Then you just moved on.
Yeah,
it always happens. You know, the superstars just outgrow the show, and what do you do? You know?
Don't say it. It's not true. It's not true. It's actually shout out to Laura Reeve. She was like, "Have you thought about having Alan back?" I was like, "That's a wonderful idea. That's a great shout."
Well, I would tell you, Laura has not forgotten us, and we do a lot of work with Laura. Laura's amazing, and I'm glad that she didn't forget us.
It's become a bit pointed now. Come on, enough.
We didn't forget about you, Alan. You're always top of mind.
Yeah. Who stood who up this week, Alan? Huh? We're going to get personal about it.
No, that was all my fault because I've been traveling a lot, and I struggle because my laptop, I don't know if you guys have this problem, but my laptop changes when I go from one place to another, but Microsoft Outlook doesn't.
Right.
So you've changed your thing to be in, I know, London or wherever you are, but your agenda hasn't moved, or it's moved a little bit. Which is what happened.
I find that so disorientating, actually.
Yeah.
Like I can't.
I've got to really force myself, and even then, I'm not sure it works all the time because I've had situations that I have changed it. And I still see when I look at the agenda that clearly something's like at 3:00 in the morning or something.
Yeah.
Like, how is that happening?
I'll go. So I travel a ton too. I'm in time. My body doesn't even know what my home time zone is anymore. So the trip I'm on right now, Alan, 25 airplanes, 7 weeks. So I'm everywhere. The two things I do is I change the time zone in my operating system, so everything else adjusts from there. But you can also set multiple time zones in Outlook. So you can have East Coast, West Coast, Central, all in your agenda at the same time, overlapping. So maybe we'll chat offline and see if we get
I need to get that done. And I did. I mean, I don't travel anywhere near as excessively as I have, but I remember coming into one airport and I'd had to check my baggage. And I went downstairs to pick up my baggage and I couldn't remember where I'd come from.
Right. Where did I just
come from? Yeah. So I had to get my ticket out. So, no, you came from Cincinnati.
How about hotel rooms, Alan? Do you ever walk out of your hotel room and forget which way the elevator is?
Oh yeah, I do that a lot. Yeah, and I am forever losing my cards. So I always say, please do give me multiple cards because I am going to lose at least one of them.
Mm-hmm.
So now I've destroyed any credibility of having an organizational talent. Yeah.
Well, let's reestablish your credibility. Actually, we'll harken back to something because Tim, when I emailed Alan, he was like the DEX. What was it? The DEX Profit.
That was
ready to return. I'd totally forgotten. I totally forgot this whole riff.
Yeah.
You had, I think, you had some very accurate predictions on those first appearances. So let's come back to that in a bit. But how have you been, Alan, and how have the last few years served you?
Well, I tell you, we've all been predicting this sort of, renaissance. It won't even be a renaissance because it's the first time. This growth in the whole experience management movement, and like you, I've been banging this drum probably for about 5 or 6, maybe 6 years now. And I remember going to one of the first events I went to, even before going to the Next Think event in London, was an HDI event. and you're getting up there saying, I think experience management is really important. Everybody's sort of looking at you like, but that's not even in ITIL. It's not, and you're telling this, and then the next year you go back, people say, so what is this XLA thing that you keep talking about, and is that going to be anything, and can I take my SLA and make it an XLA and things like that, and then, but now I'm surrounded by people that tell me they are XLA experts, and they're calling me up, and well, you'll see it in your own exponential growth. It does feel a little bit like redemption. Like, I did tell you this was going to happen. It also feels a little weird that people that were fighting with us about this 2 or 3 years ago are now experienced management advisors and stuff. And I'm like, okay, I guess that's good news. But honestly, if you look at the institute, we created the XLA Institute just over a year ago. And it has been phenomenal, right? And you probably know, or you may not know, Next Thing is one of the global founding members of the XLA Institute. And we now have, on the MSP GSI side, we have enough like global systems integrators. They represent in total about $100 billion of annual revenue, who are now members of the Institute. And we've got another 2 or 3 that are lining up to join us. So it really is an exciting time. And it is a time that, what I love about this time is it's no longer just about, is it important or not, but what is the right path? What's the route to value? How do I make the investments that I have without, I've bought Next Thing, for instance. And what can I go now? What can I do now with Next Thing, now that I'm ready to do more? And I don't want to knock Next Thing at all, because we're very grateful for everything Next Thing has ever done. But Next Thing was, for a long time, still that sort of network observability and convincing people to go into the experience portions of its capability. But I think now everybody wants to talk about that. What can I do more than I was originally doing? And that's super gratifying.
Absolutely. Now, out of interest, Alan, did you feel like 2024 was the tipping point year for this redemption arc? Or
No, I still think we've got a tipping point to go. And the reason I say that is because I remember very much when I launched ITIL in the UK in 1992. I was the keynote speaker in the Barbican in 1992. It took 10 years before we did the launch of ITIL in the US. And we launched that in, I think, 97, 98, something like that. And then in 2002 in Boston, I'm an old man, I've got all this history stored away. In 2002, it was the tipping point. And why? Because General Electric, State Farm, Procter & Gamble, and HP all got up and said, this is it. This is what we're going to do. I don't think we've had that tipping point quite yet. But what we are seeing, certainly on the managed service provider, the global system integrator provider, the DEX suppliers, there's the commitment. What I'm excited about is the emergence of the PepsiCos, the emergence of the T-Mobiles, the emergence of people, the real name brand companies that drive everything else, because they have these huge technology budgets. I now see them doing really, really serious XLA-based experience management programs. And they're serious, and they understand it's not about just buying Next Thing, but they're going to need to also look at Happy Signals, and they need to integrate it with ServiceNow. So there's an awareness, and there's a willingness, and there's an activity now. I do think 2025 will be the tipping point. I think these companies are all going to come in 2025, and not just like the head of digital workplace, who I love. I mean, they are our most important audience. But you're now seeing CIOs starting to really pay attention to it. You're seeing security people getting involved. I'm doing a workshop or this month. It is March. In this March, and it's for a very large company, but they've got HR in it, they've got security in it, they've got the onboarding people, they've got the digital workplace people, they've got the service desk people, and they're all in this program. And so for me, we are really, really close to the tipping point now, Tom. I think for you, I think for your DEX, I think 2024 was a very important year for the importance of DEX on its own. But now moving that up to the corporate value ladder, I think that's going to be 2025. That's just my thought.
So you talked about ITIL there, Alan, and there's no coincidence that the XLA concept feels a lot like ITIL, right? So is it a branch? Is it a subset of ITIL, or is experience management completely different from systems management and they need to stand on their own 2 feet?
Well, I think they need to stand on their own 2 feet, but I think they are very much intertwined
Mm,
because, the reason we created the XLA stack because we didn't believe this was all about sentiment. It wasn't just about things like the psychological safety of teams or how people felt about their work or their boss or whether it was about hybrid working. It was really this stack of information that was it wasn't multi-directional because it is usually bottom up. But the services layer, the enterprise systems management, enterprise service management layer, is an important source of data.
yeah.
But I think, Tim, what you're going to find is that we're now looking at this further. So recently I was involved in a thinking exercise, and you may have seen I've been thinking a lot about Starbucks lately, and I'm very excited about the change of route that Brian Nichol, as the new CEO, is taking with Starbucks, basically saying, we have always been the place to be, and now we're just a place to buy like everybody else. And we need to get back to
Mm,
creating experiences that bring, especially groups of people to us who want to spend time with us, with their friends, who want to maybe do educational work or other work. We need to be back to that place to be. And we were looking at that. And if you look at that XLA stack, it's a little different to a digital workplace stack because you start to look at, okay, if I want to bring groups of people to Starbucks, how am I going to measure my success? And you start thinking about maybe cameras, maybe integrating, what do you call it, the loyalty card information. Of course, you're always going to have sentiment, but you're going to start to look at other things in exactly the same stack wires that you would do before. So it's a bit of a long answer, but I think enterprise service management is a thing on its own because it's got a lot of things it needs to worry about that we don't worry about, but it has essential data that needs to be linked in smart and hopefully seamless ways that drive the XLA.
So drill into the XLA Institute a bit with us. What do you see as its kind of core definition or mission? What's your role? And maybe a bit about what the market is telling you about it. What's the market feedback been over the last year?
Well, so a couple of things. So first of all, the XLA Institute is set up as a sort of not-for-profit organization. So our goal is the community. It's a little bit like what John Layton has been doing for you guys on a different
Community.
scale, maybe community.
Yeah.
So it's getting the community, connecting people, because we're still in a thought leader phase. So you want to connect your thought leaders. And you want to connect those thought leaders to people who kind of not there yet. So we do that. But what we're also increasingly seeing, which is why I think the MSPs and GSIs are important, is the customers want to be certain that when they're signing up for something, it's valid. They're not subject to XLA washing. There's some type of
Mm,
certification process on what an XLA looks like. What does an experience management organization look like? If I'm contracting that from an MSP, what should I be setting in the contract? How should I be measuring whether I'm getting it? So there's a lot of seriousness to strengthening that community. I think that's what we're definitely seeing. And what I'm seeing is surprise. When you've been pushing up a hill for a while, you get pleasantly surprised. Brazil, Brazil has been unbelievable.
wow.
Brazil is by far the most advanced country in our universe in terms of adapting it. All the five major companies in Brazil are all running XLA programs, and they're doing it with the various subset of MSPs. Yesterday, I got a call. Saudi Arabia wants to bring this to them as part of their 2030 program. So you're seeing the pull now. You're seeing the pull, and our job is to make sure that the knowledge is being acquired, because everybody's. I don't know if you have the same thing. Everybody's asking, have you got the case studies? Have you got the
Right.
evidence? Can you show me these XLAs at work? Can you show me how you've taken DEX data from NextThink? What have you done with that? How does that relate back to what we've got in service now right now? Do we link it to Medallia or Qualtrics in some meaningful way? So these are really solid questions about implementation, not just about is it worth doing.
And you mentioned that NextThink as a founding member of the Institute. It's a big deal for us, not
Yeah.
only because it helps us further our mission, but it's a real clear sign that senior leaders understand it's more than just technology. That the tech is not going to be the savior. There is no easy button. It's got to be the people and process around it as well. You have to change how people operate. You have to change how people think, and then get the right technology for the problem you're trying to solve. So it's real great for us because it furthers our mission. Why is it important for you to have NextThink in this role? What do you think about what the partnership means for the future of DEX?
Well, I think NextThink is obviously if ServiceNow is the 500-pound gorilla in enterprise service management, NextThink's probably the 500-pound gorilla when it
Yeah.
comes to DEX. So first of all, you're the market leader. Secondly, you're a very noisy market leader. I mean, the amount of events and things, even like this podcast, and Tim, your whirlwind trip across the United States, the meet the digital leaders, all of these things.
Yeah.
You're in all corners of pretty much.
You mean the master, the
Yeah, the
Masters of
Masters.
DEX
Yeah.
series?
Yeah, well, I'm not going to give you that.
Just to be pedantic. Just to be pedantic.
No, I don't get the names right. But you're putting on so much.
Yeah.
So not only are you the market leader, but you're continuing to expand the market, continuing to expand in a good way, right? So you've taken on the role of expanding the market. Now, obviously, the other side of that is you're getting more and more companies coming in to say we want to compete with NextThink. So you always have to stay ahead of that, and I think you've done a lot of investment in R&D to keep that leading position. But you've also created almost a market index. And that's great. That's great for us. Obviously, you'd like to own all the market, but by doing that, you're getting to more people. You're giving opportunity to competition as well, but just the sheer audacity of NextThink is for me super exciting. That you're on our side now, if you know what I mean. That you're also part of our community, and you bring that energy and commitment to our community as well. And what we still have to do, because it's early days, is now start to think, how do we now create new ecosystems and bring them to the public? Because I do believe that the upwards value of DEX is not fully utilized. So I think there's something that we can do together to make that even more. Yeah, a salesperson would say sticky,
Yep.
but as a buyer, I would say more valuable. So how do I get from an XLA 1.0 to an XLA 3.0? How does my investment in NextThink help me get there? You talked about the management of change. I just had an email the other week from an oil and gas company saying, we'd love to do this, but the type of culture we are, we want the management of change program to be clear, as much as a technical roadmap is clear. How are we going to get the people to be comfortable and successful in this move as well? And some of these organizations, when I'm talking to recently, they've got like 2,000 or 3,000 people in their IT organization.
Yeah.
So we can't step over that and say, well, you got the tool now, you're going to be fine. There's a lot of work.
Or expect everybody to change overnight. That's a big ship to turn.
Yeah, of course. And this is, I think it's a great time, because I've always said what you've learned to this point is going to hold you in good stead for what we're doing next.
Yep.
This is not a change where everything you've ever been good at is no longer relevant. That's not this change. So everybody should feel pretty good about this change. If you're confident in your enterprise service management skills, if you're confident in your ability to build an observability chain, if you're confident in your ability to build a DevOps chain, then you're going to be fine as we go into
Yeah.
this new discussion, and you should be embracing it.
Yeah, and back to a little bit of market share. I think Pedro's got a very healthy attitude about the market as a whole. We want our fair share, but if we were to own the whole market, if there's no competition, that's not healthy for anybody. So, I think there's healthy competition in the market, and there's plenty of success to go around. Let me. Tom and I kind of have a streak going, and it wouldn't be an episode if we didn't talk about AI. So DEX is all about the experience of humans.
Tim, it wouldn't be a podcast in
That's
2025.
true, right?
Full stop.
Yeah.
For the
Yeah,
record. For the
yeah.
record.
But we do have a streak going. So experience of humans, how is it affected by AI? It really has been a force in shaping digital experiences. Curious of your thoughts on the influence of AI as the XLA movement kind of evolves moving forward.
So I don't think anybody has an AI problem. But people have problems that AI can help us with. So I think let's always take that first of all, right? So what challenge do we have that AI can help us with? Now, there's a very obvious challenge that we have in XLAs, and that is as XLAs become more complicated, they need more data, and they need to have swift real time correlation of that data, and that's something that human beings are not readily equipped to do, and especially if we're talking about scale, right? So my three things when I'm talking about the future of service and experience management is that businesses need to get innovation at scale and technology at speed, and it has to be delivered in a human-centric way. Now, I think AI is not just about humans. I think the AI is actually also about the experience of robots. So I think that's an equally valid conversation. But I think where IT or technology has generally been as difficult is first of all speed. Even if you take something like ServiceNow and you're in a large organization, you're looking at months and months and months of work. That's one thing. But also innovation at speed. I mean, it's cute to have hackathons, but I don't think anybody's impressed by a hackathon anymore. If you're a large company, you want to see that innovation come to the front line as quickly as possible, especially if it's going to drive revenue and productization. So I think AI can help with the scaling in an important way. Obviously, I use AI all the time. It makes me more efficient, but I don't think it's making companies more efficient yet. I don't think that's correct, and I think too many people think they have an AI problem or an AI challenge, and they're going about it the wrong way. Just like we did with cloud, let's create a center of excellence for AI, which is great, but then it's a hammer looking for a nail. And I think we need to understand what our problems are, and we've got enough of our problems now.
Yep.
And frame them against, as I said, can this help us, do technology at speed and do innovation at scale, and the human centricity of that. And I'll give you one example. I was involved in a brainstorm the other day, and somebody had this conversation, and Charlie Betts was in it. I don't know if you know Charlie Betts, who's he's a very renowned analyst in Forrester and a nerdy, geeky guy. And the premise was this: do we need a CMDB? Or can we create a CMDB in real time with AI?
An unstructured CMDB.
An unstructured CMDB.
Yeah.
If AI is that good, could we rapidly create the CMDB for the situation that we find ourselves in?
Yeah.
And then I go away and I have 2 sleepless nights on that. And then you have this whole conversation with the nerdy people about the speed of physics and the speed of light, and can you do that? But I think those are the types of things I think we will be talking about. Completely changing the paradigm. You don't have to build a CMDB and then use it. You may be able to build a baseline CMDB and augment it in real time with AI. That would give you the speed that you need as well.
Yeah, and it actually augments some things I've heard from Gartner and some of their keynotes at their conferences around the the lack of value in spending time structuring the data that AI can look into. For instance, the example they used was your teenager's messy room, and where are the socks and where is the homework, and where AI can go into that environment and find it all very quickly for you without having to organize anything. So it's a kind of a cool concept applied to the CMDB.
Yeah, exactly. And don't forget, I mean, CNDB is a massive investment
Yeah.
for large organizations.
Love the AI theme, as Tim knows. But okay, so we've spoken about experience management at the top of the discussion. Probably we might still have listeners who are familiar with DEX, not familiar with what experience management exactly means in terms of extending the capability of DEX. I'm sure we've picked something up from it so far. So maybe kind of sketch that out for them, Alan, and talk about how the XLA Institute can help organizations move from the theory of this to practical measurable outcomes.
Well, what we're seeing, and we're working on the state of XLA to actually see. So I think when we look at the market, we have two axes of capability, of maturity. So we have the capability maturity, which everybody will know, which tends to be like 5 phases and stuff in it. And that's really how good are you at doing things, right? But the one that we're introducing is the maturity of value generation. And this is where the XLA comes in. So when we do the first XLAs, they're all bottom up. So the first XLAs that we build are all the sentiment of things that are as they are. So we look at things as they are and we form an opinion. And then we can iteratively improve those things over time. Ultimately, what you want to get to is you want to have a defined experience, and you're using DEX as a quality control as to whether or not that design is working as you intended it to. And you're also using it as a warning sign for when that defined experience is expiring, because all experience is perishable, simply because of human beings. And because all experience is perishable, when we're looking at a situation and we see that the situation is not what we expect it to be, and that comes back to ITIL. Is it an incident or is it a problem? Now, DEX will tell us if it's an incident, because it will tell us, the reason that we're seeing this is because there was an outage on Outlook or on Teams or wherever. But if that's not the case, then we may have a problem that people are just tired of this experience that we've defined for them, and something has changed, which is going to warrant us changing our design. So I think we're going to see, as we get more familiar with this and we learn how to build this up, the emphasis is going to move. The first emphasis is going to move to personas. So we're going to be arming personas of value in an organization. So for instance, if you're in a software environment, it's going to be your developers. If you're in a sales environment, it's going to be your salespeople. And we're going to look at the defined experience for them. Over time, you're going to move out and you're going to integrate it with your customer experience and, dare I say, your supplier experience. In a world of tariffs and barriers, managing the supplier experience is going to be strategically important for entire countries. And we see that. I'll give you one example of that. I'm in the Netherlands right now. The Netherlands has done one of the best jobs of buying pharmaceuticals, which is great until there's a shortage of pharmaceuticals or a disruption in the supply chain, and the Netherlands is the last country that gets anything. So your experience is understanding experience is going to be super important top down. So I think what we're trying to do is to work with the pioneers on what does that value look like, that expansion of the value, and ultimately we're going to give people roadmaps of how they start here and end there, and how they start at the top and work their way down, or how they work out from the middle. I don't know if that makes sense, if I'm explaining it very well.
Very well, as always. Alan, since you're a prophet of DEX and you're back on the show, let's test that prophetic panache once again. Let's see if how it's holding up in 2025. I don't know. We're not quite early in the year enough to ask for 2025 prediction, but maybe we've got to since the profit has returned. Come on,
Oh.
what do you got for us? What challenges and trends do you see on the horizon?
Well, I think that I do think that the MSPs and GSIs are going to have to turn around their business model, right? I think they've been in this race to the bottom for the longest period of time, and in some ways, the tool sets have been a part of the race to the bottom. Can I optimize? Can I reduce costs? Can I reduce tickets? Can I, this whole idea of completely reducing tickets is an obsession, and it's not an obsession because of the customer. It's an obsession because of trying to compete at the lowest possible price and have some acceptable quality against it. I think that people are going to switch that around. I think the most advanced ones are going to turn it around and say we're not doing that anymore. We're now going to have a set of defined experiences. They're probably going to be industry specific. We're going to build stacks that enable us to not just provide those, but they're going to be almost like thinking stacks on how we can help the organization on its side to improve the way it creates and delivers experiences to its employees or its customers. And I think it's going to be a huge mindset change. And it's not just a mindset change with the MSPs, the managed service providers, and the global service integrators. It's going to be a huge mindset change for people in procurement, for people in vendor management, who are so programmed to look at optimization that they don't have enough tools to look at value. So there's going to be that growth in value. And I also think that we're going to see a bigger push because of that from the people that do get that, and that's going to be the large consultancies. So right now, the large consultancies, I think, have been a little bit on the sideline. They've been dabbling in it. They've been using it themselves. Like Deloitte is one of your customers, for instance, as an example. But I think you're going to see them finding ways of actually bringing value to entire organizations that are going to be experience-based innovations and experience-based value generation. And we're all going to be, and so instead of us pushing them, we're going to be pulled along at a brisk pace. I think those are two things you're definitely going to see.
Awesome. Alan, who should get in touch with you and how can they get in touch with you?
Well, I hope I'm easy to find, although LinkedIn did shut me down for a day. Yeah, apparently there was somebody who got into my system or something.
Too many controversial statements from you, Alan?
No.
Was it one of those? Was it one of
That would
those?
be why I'm
Alan had a
out of
few
this.
drinks,
Yeah.
posted some controversial stuff. Suddenly he's hacked.
Not impossible. No. So you can easily get to me at alan.nance@xla.institute. That's the easiest way to get to me. I am on LinkedIn. I always say to people, please connect and ask questions, right? Because we're doing a program right now, a research program on the enlightened executive. Because what we do see is this is also a time of executive change. Maybe that's another thing. And I've said this before, but it's happening now. My generation has refused to retire or die, and they're still occupying positions, and they got to those positions by being the best people they could in the service economy. And if they're at the end of their career, they're not willing to take risks anymore.
Change is a risk, yeah.
Change is a risk, so I've got to stick with that. But also there's a lack of understanding of all this stuff that's being pushed at them. So what we're doing now is let's find the enlightened leaders. Let's find the enlightened executives. And we're doing a program to identify what their traits are, because we also have a whole new generation of leaders who want to do this. And I use this analogy. If you've heard my analogy, it's an American football analogy, so I apologize, Tom. That if you look at my generation of leadership, who are still everywhere, if you consider them to be the defensive line, their goal is to protect everything that's been achieved. They're very suspicious of any movement, and they want to shut down any movement coming straight at them. But they're also a little bit slow, a little bit inflexible, and they're big and heavy. So when you're looking at them, they're really, really scary. But the new generation, they're the running backs. And all the running backs need is one gap. And once they're through that gap, they're on the way to the scoring line.
Room to run.
And then we've got the enlightened executives, which are an offensive line. So they're not playing to score. They're already at the offensive line. But what they are doing is creating the gaps, They are the very smart. I'm saying they're not bulls in a china shop. They are the very smart people who understand how to manipulate and move that defensive line around and create the opening so that running back can go through. And that dynamic, I think, we're trying to understand with this research. It may not make sense to you, Tom, but I'm
I
hoping
love it. I love it. Tom's got to go out and buy a book on American football now, though.
Isn't he offside?
I'm just glad you didn't, Alan. I'm just glad you didn't use a cricket example.
There you go. There you go. I was applying it to rugby as we went.
It'll work.
It works a little bit. It works a little bit, but you don't have to line up quite as static as the offensive defensive line is.
Yes, you've adapted your whole way of thinking for your adopted country, Alan.
And I was inspired because when I was working with BMC, there was our CEO at the time, Bob Beecham, said, "If you get a great running back, you've suddenly got a running game." And I think when I go to these conferences, I see a lot of people who really want to do this. And they're not in the positions that they can do it yet, but they're looking for that. They're looking for that opportunity. And I keep telling them, fine, you only need one enlightened leader to change an entire company. And then I get the question, well, what do they look like? How do I recognize them? And that's what this research is a little bit about.
Cool.
Love it. Alan, so lovely to break bread with you again. Not least since we've all spent the intervening years, building and growing and doing so well. And let's not leave it another 3-4 years, whatever it is. Let's have you back on soon. It's been a pleasure to catch up, and take care. Have a lovely weekend, and we'll see you soon.
Well, it's great chatting with you as always, and I much appreciate not just me personally, but also from what I call the movement. The stuff that you're doing every day and every week, and what Tim's doing traveling around the country now, it's massively important that drumbeat continues to resound through every nation. So thank you so much for your work as well.
Thanks, Alan.
To make sure that you never miss an episode, subscribe to the show in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast player. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, make sure to leave a rating of the show. Just tap the number of stars you think the podcast deserves. If you'd like to learn more about how NextThink can help you improve your digital employee experience, head over to nextthink.com. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.